Minutes turn to hours as the enormous claws tear through the earth. The bear's muscles strain against exhaustion, its breath forming clouds in the cold air. 6 hours pass. Then 8. Then 10. Onlookers whisper, cameras roll, but no one dares intervene. This isn't normal bear behavior. Something drives this creature beyond hunger, beyond instinct. As the sun begins to set on the 11th hour, the massive animal suddenly freezes. Its powerful body becomes still. Then, with one final, determined thrust of its paw, it reaches deep into the ground. What emerges in that moment, clutched in those massive dirt-caked claws, sends ripples of disbelief through everyone present. In an instant, science books would need rewriting, history would need reconsidering, and our understanding of the natural world would never be the same. The events unfolded in the vast wilderness of northern Montana, where the Rocky Mountains rise like ancient guardians against the sky. Thick forests of pine and spruce carpet the landscape, interrupted only by crystal-clear streams and meadows bursting with wildflowers. This land remains one of the last truly wild places in America, where nature follows its own rules, unchained for thousands of years. Among the many creatures roaming these woods, none command more respect than the grizzly bears. These massive animals, standing up to 8 feet tall when on their hind legs, rule as the undisputed kings and queens of the northern forests. Their power is matched only by their intelligence, with problem-solving skills that continually surprise even the most experienced wildlife experts. One bear in particular had caught the attention of researchers in the area. A massive male grizzly, estimated to be around 15 years old, with distinctive cinnamon-colored fur and a scar running across his right shoulder. Local rangers named him Kodiak, and he had become something of a legend in these parts. Larger than most males in the region and unusually solitary, Kodiak moved through his territory with purposeful confidence. Researchers tracking his movements noted his exceptional skill at finding food sources and avoiding human contact. But on this crisp autumn morning, Kodiak began behaving in a way no one had ever witnessed before. The day started like any other for the wildlife research team stationed at the Montana Conservation Outpost. Dr. Sarah Jenkins, the lead bear researcher with 15 years of experience studying grizzly behavior, was reviewing footage from trail cameras when her radio crackled to life. It was Marcus, one of the field technicians positioned in the eastern observation blind. "You need to see this." Marcus's voice carried an unusual urgency. "Kodiak is acting strange." Within 20 minutes, Dr. Jenkins and her assistant had hiked to the ridge overlooking a small valley where Marcus had spotted the bear. Through her binoculars, she immediately noticed something odd. Kodiak wasn't moving to the landscape with his typical purposeful stride. Instead, he was pacing in circles around a small patch of ground near a dried-up creek bed. The bear's behavior showed a focus that surprised even Dr. Jenkins. He would stop, lower his nose to the ground, and inhale deeply. Then he would scratch at the earth tentatively, almost delicately for a creature of his size. The research team observed as Kodiak repeated this pattern with increasing intensity, his massive head swinging from side to side as if listening for something beneath the soil. "I've never seen anything like it," whispered Dr. Jenkins as she documented behavior in her field journal. "It's not food-seeking behavior. See how deliberate his movements are? This isn't random." What puzzled the researchers most was the location. There were no obvious food sources nearby, no signs of rodent colonies, no buried carcasses. The area wasn't known for any plants bears typically dig for, and it wasn't a season for insects that might attract such focused attention. After nearly an hour of this investigative behavior, Kodiak suddenly reared up on his hind legs, towering like a living monument against the blue Montana sky. He sniffed the air, turned his head as if confirming something only he could sense, then dropped down with determination that sent a small tremor through the earth. And then he began to dig, not the casual excavation bears often do when searching for roots or grubs, but a deliberate, powerful, and persistent digging that sent dirt flying in all directions. The researchers exchanged glances. Something extraordinary was happening. As morning stretched into afternoon, Kodiak's digging intensified with every passing hour. What had started as exploratory scratching transformed into a mission of singular focus. The massive grizzly attacked the earth with his front paws, creating a growing mound of soil beside what was becoming an impressive hole. His powerful muscles rippled beneath his thick fur as he scooped away dirt, rocks, and roots with the efficiency of a living excavator. Dr. Jenkins and her team set up a proper observation post, complete with cameras, recording equipment, and spotting scopes. They took turns documenting every aspect of this unprecedented behavior. The temperature rose as the sun climbed higher, yet Kodiak showed no signs of stopping. Sweat began to dampen his fur. His breathing grew heavier, but his determination never wavered. By the third hour, the hole had grown to nearly 3 feet deep and 5 feet wide. Most bears would dig briefly for food and move on if unsuccessful, but Kodiak's persistence defied normal patterns. He would occasionally pause, lower his head into the hole, and sniff deeply before resuming his work with renewed vigor. These moments of investigation seemed to fuel his determination. "He's not just digging randomly," noted Dr. Jenkins as she reviewed the footage. "Look at the precision. He's following something specific." The fourth hour brought the first signs of physical strain. Kodiak's movements, while still powerful, showed subtle indications of fatigue. His massive paws would occasionally slip, and he began taking brief pauses to catch his breath. Yet after each rest, lasting no more than a minute or two, he would return to his task with the same intense focus. As Hour 5 blended into Hour 6, word had spread through the research station. Other scientists and staff gathered at a respectful distance, witnessing behavior that none had seen in decades of collective wildlife observation. Kodiak now stood in a pit nearly 5 feet deep, disappearing from view when he bent down to dig deeper. The seventh hour brought unexpected challenges. The bear had reached a layer of rocky soil that resisted his efforts. Rather than giving up, Kodiak adjusted his technique, using his claws to scrape between stones and leveraging his incredible strength to move larger obstacles. His problem-solving abilities impressed even the most experienced researchers present. Hours 8 and 9 tested the limits of the bear's stamina. His movements slowed noticeably, and his rest periods became more frequent. Yet each time observers thought he might abandon his quest, Kodiak would suddenly become alert, as if receiving confirmation that his goal was near. He would lower his head, ears forward, and then resume digging with renewed purpose. As the 10th hour approached, the sun began its descent toward the mountain horizon. Kodiak's fur was caked with dirt, his breathing labored. The hole had reached an astonishing depth of nearly 7 feet. Field researchers had to set up spotlights as darkness threatened to obscure this remarkable event. No one dared leave, despite growing hunger and fatigue among the human observers. They understood they were witnessing something unprecedented in recorded bear behavior. In the 11th hour, Kodiak's movements took on an almost desperate quality. His powerful body, despite showing every sign of exhaustion, continued to work with surprising precision. The bear would dig furiously for several minutes, then freeze completely, his head tilted as if listening to something calling from beneath the earth itself. As Kodiak's incredible digging marathon continued into its late stages, the team of wildlife experts found themselves facing a scientific mystery that deepened with each passing hour. Dr. Jenkins consulted with colleagues across the country via satellite phone, describing the bear's behavior in detail, while sending video clips that left even veteran bear experts baffled. "This defies everything we understand about energy conservation in wild animals," explained Dr. Robertson, a bear behaviorist from the University of Colorado, after reviewing the footage. "Bears are opportunistic feeders. They operate on a strict energy budget. When effort exceeds potential reward, they move on. Always." Yet Kodiak showed no signs of abandoning his mysterious quest despite clear indications of physical exhaustion. His thick fur was now completely soaked with sweat. His breathing had become increasingly labored, and his once powerful digging motions had developed a slight tremor that indicated his muscles were reaching their limits. The research team began developing theories, each more unlikely than the last. Perhaps he sensed water deep underground, though the nearest water table was believed to be much deeper than a bear could possibly dig. Maybe he detected the scent of buried carrion, though nothing in the area suggested a large animal had died there. Some even proposed he might be trying to excavate a winter den, despite the unusual timing and location. "Look at his eyes," pointed out Lisa Thornton, the team specialist in animal cognition. There's a focus there that suggests recognition. He's not searching anymore. He knows exactly what he's pursuing. This observation sparked a new line of inquiry. The team quickly accessed geological surveys of the area, historical records, and even consulted with the anthropology department about possible ancient settlement sites. Nothing in the official records explained why this specific patch of earth held such importance to Kodiak. As the 11th hour of digging progressed, physical concerns for the bear grew. Dr. Jenkins calculated that Kodiak had been working without food or significant rest for nearly half a day, burning calories at an alarming rate. Thermal imaging showed his body temperature had risen worryingly high. By all physiological measures, the bear should have collapsed from exhaustion or abandoned his task hours ago. We're witnessing something that challenges our fundamental understanding of animal behavior, Dr. Jenkins noted in her field journal. Either this bear knows something we don't, or we're observing a kind of determination that science hasn't properly documented in wild animals before. The mystery deepened further when the research team noticed something else extraordinary. Despite the growing crowd of observers, Kodiak remained completely focused on his task. Normally, a wild bear would be acutely aware of human presence at such proximity, yet he showed not the slightest interest in anything beyond a deepening hole beneath his massive paws. News of Kodiak's extraordinary behavior spread through the region with remarkable speed. By mid-afternoon, the research team's radio communications had been overheard by local rangers, who mentioned it to a tour guide, who told his hiking group, which included a nature blogger with thousands of followers. Within hours, what had begun as a scientific observation transformed into a gathering that resembled a small festival on the outskirts of the wilderness. Local residents from a nearby town of Pine Ridge arrived first, parking their trucks along the Forest Service Road and hiking the mile-long trail to the observation point. They brought binoculars, cameras, and camping chairs, setting up at the edge of the safety perimeter established by the research team. Many had grown up with stories of Kodiak, the legendary bear whose territory encompassed much of their surrounding wilderness. Children sat on parents' shoulders, straining for a glimpse of the determined animal in his deepening pit. By early evening, the gathering had grown to include wildlife enthusiasts from neighboring counties. Amateur photographers set up tripods with long lenses, capturing the bear's tireless work as the sunlight faded and the team switched to artificial lighting. A respectful hush fell over the crowd during moments when Kodiak would pause, sniff deeply, and then resume his mysterious quest with renewed energy. The arrival of media transformed the atmosphere further. First came the local newspaper reporter with a simple digital camera, followed shortly by the regional television station's van navigating the bumpy access road. A drone operator from a national nature documentary series appeared with special permission from the Park Service, capturing aerial footage that revealed the true scale of Kodiak's excavation work. Scientists from various disciplines joined the growing audience, drawn by colleagues' excited phone calls and messages. Geologists arrived with soil testing kits, anthropologists consulted maps of historical sites, and additional wildlife biologists set up specialized equipment to record every aspect of this unprecedented event. Throughout it all, the research team maintained strict control of the perimeter, ensuring no one ventured close enough to disturb the bear. Park rangers reminded onlookers about safety protocols, while simultaneously appearing just as captivated by the unfolding mystery. As darkness fully enveloped the Montana wilderness, headlamps and flashlights dotted the hillside like earthbound stars, all focused on the incredible determination of one bear who seemed driven by something beyond human understanding. As Kodiak's digging entered its final hour, the atmosphere among the gathered crowd transformed into something electric. The bear now stood nearly 8 feet below ground level, visible only when he reared up to toss soil from a hole. Floodlights positioned by the research team cast dramatic shadows across the scene, highlighting the sheer scale of what this single determined animal had accomplished through raw persistence. The excavation had taken on an almost surgical precision. Gone was the frantic digging of the earlier hours, replaced by careful, deliberate movements. Kodiak would scrape away small amounts of soil, then pause to inspect his progress with his sensitive nose. Each careful motion suggested he sensed something fragile lay just beyond his reach. The crowd fell into complete silence during these moments, hundreds of people collectively holding their breath. Dr. Jenkins and her core team huddled around their monitoring equipment, tracking Kodiak's vital signs through thermal imaging. His body temperature had stabilized, but exhaustion was evident in every labored movement. Muscles that had worked continuously for nearly 11 hours trembled visibly, yet his determination never wavered. If anything, his focus had sharpened to an almost supernatural intensity. 3 times during that final hour, Kodiak completely froze, becoming as still as a statue for minutes at a time. During these pauses, even his breathing seemed to slow as he lowered his head deep into the hole. The research team theorized he might be listening or sensing subtle vibrations beyond human perception. Each time he resumed digging, his movements became more precise, more targeted. The excavation now extended far deeper than any documented bear dig in scientific literature. What had begun as a curious behavior had transformed into something that would redefine scientific understanding of animal capabilities and determination. Soil samples taken from the edge of the pit revealed layers that hadn't seen sunlight in thousands of years. As the 11th hour neared its conclusion, a noticeable change came over Kodiak. His movements suddenly became gentler, more cautious. The powerful paws that had moved hundreds of pounds of earth now scraped with delicate precision. The bear's entire demeanor shifted from determined excavator to something approaching reverence. The floodlights captured a moment that those present would never forget. Kodiak suddenly stopped, his massive head tilting in curious inspection. His right paw extended forward with unexpected gentleness, carefully brushing away the final layer of soil from something buried in the darkness. His entire body tensed, then grew completely still. What happened next left everyone, from seasoned scientists to curious locals, in a state of complete disbelief. The floodlights illuminated an extraordinary scene as Kodiak delicately pulled something from the earth. First came a glimpse of color, a deep, unnatural blue that had no place in these soil depths. Then, as the bear's careful movements revealed more, gasps rippled through the assembled crowd. There, cradled gently between his massive claws, was what appeared to be a human-made object. Dr. Jenkins immediately radioed for the team's archaeologist, Dr. Maya Rodriguez, who rushed forward with her camera. The photographs would later show what was initially difficult to believe: a perfectly preserved leather pouch adorned with intricate beadwork in striking blues and whites. The craftsmanship was unmistakably human, yet the depth at which it had been discovered suggested an age that seemed impossible for such well-preserved organic material. As Kodiak continued his careful excavation, more objects emerged from the frozen ground. The bear's inexplicable gentleness revealed a collection of items that should have deteriorated centuries ago, yet remained in remarkable condition. A wooden handle with carvings of animals running its length, stone tools with bindings still intact, a small woven basket containing seeds that appeared viable despite their ancient origin. Dr. Rodriguez quickly identified the significance of what they were witnessing. This wasn't just any archaeological find. It was evidence of human habitation from a period when this area was believed to be uninhabited. The preservation could only be explained by a rare combination of geological events: a sudden landslide followed by rapid freezing, creating a pocket of permafrost that had remained undisturbed for potentially thousands of years. More astonishing still was what emerged next. Kodiak's paw gently brushed away soil for what appeared to be a carved wooden mask, its features still distinct after centuries buried in the frozen earth. The craftsmanship displayed artistic techniques never before documented in this region, suggesting cultural connections previously unknown to archaeological science. The bear's movements became increasingly deliberate as he exposed more of the ancient cache. With the care of a master excavator, Kodiak revealed a ceremonial staff topped with carved eagle feathers, copper jewelry still bearing traces of original pigment, and tools made from materials that originated hundreds of miles away, indicating trade networks far more extensive than historians had believed possible for that era. Most significant of all was a small clay tablet covered in unfamiliar markings, possibly a writing system previously undocumented in North American indigenous cultures. If confirmed, this single discovery would rewrite understanding of pre-Columbian communication systems and force a complete reevaluation of the intellectual achievements of ancient North American societies. Throughout this remarkable revelation, Kodiak's behavior remained the greatest mystery. His careful, almost reverential treatment of the artifacts defied explanation. While bears possess exceptional sense of smell, nothing in scientific literature suggested they could detect or would show interest in archaeological materials. Yet Kodiak had not only located this underground treasure, but seemed to understand its fragility and importance. As the final item, a small ceremonial bowl containing preserved plant material, emerged from the earth, Kodiak did something that left even the most skeptical observers speechless. He carefully arranged the artifacts in a deliberate pattern on the ground beside the excavation, creating what appeared to be a deliberate display of the ancient treasures. Then, as if his mission was finally complete, the massive bear sat back on his haunches, surveying what it uncovered with what could only be described as satisfaction. The collective realization among those present was profound. They had witnessed not just an archaeological miracle, but potentially a form of animal cognition and purpose that science had never before documented or even considered possible. As dawn broke over the Montana wilderness, a team of world-renowned archaeologists arrived by helicopter. Dr. Elena Vasquez, leading expert on pre-Columbian civilizations, carefully examined each artifact Kodiak had unearthed. Carbon dating would later confirm what seemed impossible. These perfectly preserved items were over 9,000 years old, belonging to a previously unknown civilization that predated all documented cultures in the region by millennia. The collection revealed a society with technological capabilities far beyond what historians believed possible for that era. The writing system on the clay tablets represented the earliest known written language in the Americas, pushing back the timeline of literacy on the continent by thousands of years. The sophisticated metalworking techniques displayed in the jewelry suggested knowledge transferred from across the Bering Strait, rewriting migration theories that had stood unchallenged for decades. Perhaps most remarkable was the mystery of Kodiak's inexplicable ability to locate this archaeological treasure. Dr. Jenkins collaborated with neurobiologists and animal cognition specialists to develop a theory that would soon revolutionize understanding of bear sensory capabilities. Detailed analysis of soil samples revealed trace amounts of ancient resin from ceremonial incense, compounds that would be imperceptible to humans, but potentially detectable by a bear's sense of smell, which is 7 times more powerful than a bloodhound's. Further research uncovered evidence that bears might possess sensitivity to subtle magnetic anomalies in the earth, possibly explaining how Kodiak pinpointed the exact location of the artifacts despite their depth. This discovery opened entirely new fields of study in animal cognition and potential applications for archaeological exploration. Scientists began developing bio-inspired, sensing technologies based on earth sign capabilities that would transform how humanity searches for its past. Within months, the Kodiak discovery transformed historical understanding across multiple disciplines. Textbooks were rewritten to include this ancient civilization now named Kawikas, meaning hidden ones in a regional indigenous language. Museum exhibits featuring replicas of the artifacts drew record crowds worldwide. Documentary films recreated Kodiak's remarkable excavation, bringing this extraordinary story to millions. The legacy of one bear's inexplicable determination extended beyond scientific revolution. The discovery sparked renewed interest in wildlife conservation, particularly for grizzly bears whose numbers had been declining. New protected corridors were established throughout Kodiak's territory, allowing these magnificent animals to roam more freely across their ancestral lands. As for Kodiak himself, he returned to his solitary life in the wilderness, unaware that his remarkable instincts had forever changed humanity's understanding of its own past. The bear that dug for 11 hours straight had connected the modern world to an ancient one, proving once again that nature holds mysteries we have only begun to comprehend. If you were amazed by this incredible story of discovery and want to witness more extraordinary animal behaviors that challenge our understanding of the natural world, subscribe to our channel. Each week, we bring you remarkable wildlife stories, unexpected discoveries, and moments that remind us how much we still have to learn from the creatures with whom we share this planet.